It was 1992, and I was 20-something. And it was my first year as a school counselor. And I was happy and anxious at the same time. But my heart was filled with anticipation for this career that I had chosen. I was proud to be an educator. My first mentors, my mother and my father, were amazing teachers. And I wanted to be amazing too. I wanted to emulate them. I remember hanging up from the call from Human Resources after they offered me the job and feeling so grateful and thankful for the opportunity to just serve our kids. I mean, I was thankful for every weekend off, thankful for those benefits, thankful for most holidays, and thankful for those hot girl summers. Yes, who would not want this job, I thought. So prior to my first day, I recall picking out my best first day of school outfit, and I set my alarm clock, and I mapped out my route to school. Yes, this was before GPS. And I packed up some small personal items, put them in my box for my office. And so I arrived at school the next day, and I was confident and prepared and happy and inspired to do this work. And I did what every educator does. I just jumped in and immersed myself into the busyness of education. And you know, when you're new, you come early, you stay late. I served on committees, I coached, I did everything necessary for our kids to be successful. I felt a sense of accomplishment. I felt like I belonged. And my joy factor, 10. Do you know that type of joy? Well, that truly was my reality for over 7 years. But we know that there comes a time when the newness wears off and the life that you imagined that you were living and the life you are actually living, it starts to change, and those two worlds, they start to collide. And that is what happened to me. After year 11, this school counselor, I was frustrated. I was struggling to be my authentic self. I was busy, but I didn't feel productive. Some days I could muster up the joy, and other days I just couldn't. And to be honest, I didn't even want to come some days. Y'all know what I mean? Okay. So by year 18, I am sitting in the parking lot at my school, and I am crying, no sobbing. No, actually it was the ugly cry. We know the ugly cry, right? Yes. And my husband, he is on the phone giving me words of positive affirmation. You remember, honey? Yes, okay. And encouragement. And every day was hard. And then COVID came. And we all know what happened during COVID. And my joy, it dwindled from a 10 to a 0. But I got my joy back, yes. And if I got my joy back, then you can get your joy back too. I liken losing your joy to losing your keys. Y'all know that feeling that you get when you get ready to leave and you can't find your keys? And you're like looking and looking for these keys, and the more that you look, the more frustrated you become. And then you just start to panic because you understand that your keys are important. They get you places, they get you into places. And so you keep looking and you keep looking, and eventually you sit down because you're just so frustrated, and you think about it, you like take a breath and like, okay, let me focus. And suddenly you remember where your keys are. And they were right there in plain sight. And in that moment, you understand the value of your keys. Well, joy is like that too. One day you have it, and the next minute you can't find it. That's exactly what happened to me. As the years went by, slowly my joy got further and further away from me. And my weekends off, well, they became work weekends, and my hot girl summers, they became part-time jobs. And I was like, Olivette, girl, what is going on? Where is your joy? And just like those lost keys, I forgot the importance of keeping up with my joy. Harvard psychologist and faculty member Rebecca Newton, she put it something like this. She said, joy is vital to our well-being. It impacts our thinking, it impacts the way we feel, and it impacts how we show up at work, right? A lot of research has been done on it. And Michael Johnson, the researcher from Cambridge University, he put it something like this. Joy may be the psychological phenomenon that has some of the most potential for bringing about a greater degree of human flourishing, and may hold some of the most promise for addressing the challenges of our age. So in short, joy can extend our life and help us to overcome some of these challenges that we are feeling at work. So yeah, I'm getting my joy back because I'm trying to live. Anne Frank said, we all live with the objective of trying to be happy. We are all different, yes, but we are all the same. And the first step to me finding my joy, I had to first try to remember and retrace, when did I last have it? And I thought back to 1992 when I was coming through that door. But where did I lose it? So one night I was unable to sleep, and I got up because that joy thing, it'll keep you up at night. And I got up and I got out my planner and I jotted down all the things that I loved about my job, what brought me joy. And then I jotted down all the things that kept me from having joy at work. And I was able to trace it back to my constant frustration over frequent administrative turnover and constant change. And I know change is good. I'm a school counselor. But not if you don't feel like you are progressing. And I felt like I kept starting over and over again, and my impact and my growth was limited because it always felt like a restart. I felt like I just got caught up in that cycle, and it impacted my joy. And that night as I sat there, said, Olivette, what are you going to do? Do you need another job? Is this it? And as I sat there and thought about it, I was like, I don't need another job. As a matter of fact, I didn't even lose my joy. I gave it away. And if I gave it away, then I can get it back. So reflection is how Olivette got her joy back. But as I sat there that night, I said to myself, it's not enough to just remember when and where you lost it. You got to figure out how you're going to keep it. And so that night, I decided that my joy is worth fighting for. And I devised a plan, my joy action plan. My professional development plan, my PDP. Come on, educators, y'all know a PDP. Yes? And the objective, keep my joy. So my plan went a little something like this. I took accountability for my own growth and joy. I realized that it wasn't external. I was the solution. And I stopped admiring the problem and resolved that the solution was within me. And then I contemplated, what do I need? What do I need to be happy and fulfilled? And every day when I showed up in that parking lot, the same one where I had the ugly cry, I said to myself, Olivette, what do you need? I needed to connect with my kids. I needed to be surrounded by positivity. I needed to be productive, not busy. Because educators, just because you're busy doesn't mean you get better results. So then I said, how am I going to keep this simple? So I simplified my systems, I prioritized, I decluttered, and I said no to meaningless tasks. Then I thought, I need to practice positivity. So I avoided spaces where complaining was common, the teacher's lounge. And I decided to protect my own peace. I teamed up with my positive allies, and I began to speak positivity over my own life. Yes? Yes? And then I aligned myself with people who inspired me and supported me. And I started listening to inspiring podcasts and reading inspiring books, and I took on opportunities that allowed me to do the things that excited me and brought me joy, right? And by then, y'all, I knew I was on to something. So every day I just tried to repeat all the good lessons that I learned, and I decided to live out my core values. And finally, I reminded myself that every day is a brand new day. Let's forget about what happened yesterday. Every day is a brand new day. And during my career, y'all, I realized that I needed to inspire myself. I needed simple, positive inspiration repeatedly every day. And I've learned that joy is contagious. It not only helps me to function, but it inspires other people to grow and be happy. Yes? So I ask you, what must you do to keep your joy? And if you've lost it, what are you going to do to get it back? Where can you take accountability? What is within your control? What better choices can you make? And what do you need to be joyful? I needed connectivity and to show up as my authentic self, but what do you need? What do you need? How are you going to simplify it? Where are you going to declutter? Is it your mind, your spirit, your environment? How are you going to make your day-to-day interactions less complicated? And where can you increase your positivity? And by all means, how can you protect your peace and your energy? What inspires you? And how are you going to repeat it? Yes. Learning new habits takes time and it's work. But we must replicate those skills that serve us well. And finally, how are you going to remember that every day is a new day? Every day is a new day. Did you know that 40% of new teachers leave our profession every 5 years? And 8% of educators find different careers at the end of the school year. And we know educators leave for a variety of reasons, but I'm willing to bet that the lack of joy is right there up at the top. I know as educators, we feel we lack support. We wish for more parental involvement. We got to learn to manage our work-life balance. I know, because I live it too, just like you. But my message for you today is that in spite of all those challenges, we can still have joy. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes. You may have to let go of the picture of what you thought your life would look like and find joy in the life that you are already living. Be inspired. I'm betting on you. Thank you.